They're indefatigable. Joining us now is Giles Gibson, WION correspondent from Washington, D.C. Giles, good evening. Is this a first in American history? The White House being sued for denying access?
It's not actually a first in American history, and it's not actually a first for CNN as a network. In the 1980s and the 1990s, when they were first founded as a network, and they were actually sort of a small startup. It's quite hard to believe now that they're one of the sort of dominant forces in American television. But back in those days, they actually had to sue that administration, the White House, to allow them to join the White House pool. So this is not exactly completely unheard of, but certainly this does represent a real escalation of this ongoing feud that we've seen between the White House, the press secretary Sarah Sanders, Donald Trump, the US president, and CNN as a network, and in particular the CNN chief White House correspondent Jim Acosta.
The media taking on governments is not new, but in this fashion, is this lawsuit particularly more to make a splash? Do you think it will stand up to legal scrutiny? What do the rules say? Can any journalist say that he or she has the right to be present at a press briefing?
Well, CNN have released details of this legal proceeding, this lawsuit that they've initiated, and they're saying that they are suing various defendants, including US President Donald Trump, the White House Chief of Staff John Kelly, the White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders, and several other officials within the White House communications team. And they're saying that they're making this lawsuit on First and Fifth Amendment grounds. So the First Amendment of the US Constitution, one of the most well-known, guarantees the freedom of the press here in the United States. And the Fifth Amendment is a little bit more of a legal issue, a bit more of a technical issue. That guarantees due process. So what CNN are saying is that by banning their chief White House correspondent, or suspending his pass anyway temporarily, that the White House are infringing on their First Amendment rights, the freedom of the press, and that they also haven't given them due process in simply taking away what's known as Jim Acosta's hard pass. That's his security pass that allows him to go in and out of the White House and do his reporting.
What kind of reactions is this getting both in the press and in the public? Are both sides being accused of trying to pull off stunts? I've read some headlines which say Jim Acosta stopped being a journalist a while back.
Well, we've had some reaction just in the last few moments, actually, from the White House press secretary herself, from Sarah Huckabee Sanders. She's released a statement about this lawsuit that CNN have initiated. She said that this is, quotes, more grandstanding from CNN. We've seen a really long-running feud between the network and the Trump administration, really since Donald Trump took office as US president. We've also seen Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the White House press secretary, saying that the White House are going to vigorously defend against this lawsuit. So that's where we stand right now with these legal proceedings beginning. Perhaps what we could see is, before we get into court, before this actually goes into the lawyers' hands, we could perhaps see the White House standing down and allowing Jim Acosta back into the White House, or we could see this go all the way to the courts. It remains to be seen at this stage.
Right. Giles, thanks very much for bringing us the very latest on this very dramatic story, I must say. A news network suing the White House, the president and some of his staff for denying them access. It's worth noting that the United States of America ranks at number 45 on the Press Freedom Index. It has slipped 2 points from last year. Now, one would say that under Donald Trump as president, the media is losing its voice in America. But here's the counter argument. Is the White House wrong in deciding who gets access and who doesn't? What do the rules say? All media members with credentials can attend press briefings in America. That is the tradition, not the rule. Plus, the press credentials, or accreditation as we call it here in India, is given by the White House press office. The Acosta case has left America and American media further divided. While we believe that Donald Trump's actions were unbecoming of a president, there are many who say that journalists who become the story themselves often do a disservice to the profession. In the interest of fairness and free speech, we decided to dwell on both points of view.